Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really powerful framework for achieving true success. And it's actually derived straight from the philosophies of Denzel Washington. You know, if you've ever felt like you're just kind of spinning your wheels, this breakdown is a fantastic way to recalibrate. We're going to map out the whole journey, from discovering your deep internal drive, all the way to executing your goals, and finally, leaving a lasting legacy. Okay, let's dive into this. Right off the bat, we have to ask a fundamental question that totally challenges the conventional wisdom we've all been spoon-fed. Why do we always plan to fall backward? I mean, think about it. Throughout our lives, whether we're picking a college major or starting a new career or taking a big leap of faith, well-meaning people always tell us, make sure you have something safe to fall back on, right? But honestly, having that safety net can sometimes mean we're psychologically preparing to fail before we even step up to the plate. So the antidote to that whole safety net mindset starts with a concept known as the itch. Now, this isn't just some fleeting random thought. It's that deep, innate desire in your heart to help others, to grow, or to succeed. And here is the brilliant paradigm shift. That desire, that itch, it's literal proof sent beforehand by God or the universe, indicating that your goal is already yours. The journey to true success begins by deeply, fundamentally trusting this inner calling. But as you probably know, answering that calling requires immense courage. Nelson Mandela hit the nail on the head when he said, "There is no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one you're capable of living." The reality is, answering your calling means stepping out into a mean, frightening world. To get something you've never had, you literally have to do something you've never done. Taking massive risks is simply the only way to find anything worthwhile. Playing it safe, it's just never going to get you there. So, the crucial point is, if you're going to take those massive risks, you have to adopt the mindset of falling forward. Rather than clinging to a safe backup plan, you got to say, if I'm going to fall, I don't want to fall back on anything. I want to fall forward. Why? Because if you fall forward, at least you can see what you're about to hit. It's all about embracing failure as a forward-moving stepping stone rather than a full-on retreat. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this massive number, 2,600. Anybody know what that represents? That is the number of times baseball legend Reggie Jackson struck out during his career. It's actually the most strikeouts in the entire history of baseball. But here's the magic of falling forward. Nobody talks about the strikeouts, do they? People only remember the home runs. And right on the heels of that, consider this next number, 1,000. Thomas Edison conducted 1,000 failed experiments before he finally invented the light bulb on his 1,001st try. 1,000 failures. That is the literal definition of failing big and falling forward. Every single one of those failures was just data pointing him toward his ultimate success. Section 1. Dreams versus goals. The mechanics of achievement. So transitioning from taking risks into the practical mechanics, there is a massive difference between a dream and a goal. Now, you absolutely should dream big, for sure, but you have to rigidly understand that dreams without goals are just dreams. If they stay as internal desires without any real action behind them, they'll ultimately just fuel disappointment. Goals, on the other hand, are actionable targets. They demand your discipline and your consistency. To actually bridge that gap between a dream and reality, you have to break it down into a hierarchy of ambition. You need life goals, yearly goals, monthly goals, all the way down to daily goals. This is what keeps you grounded and moving forward. And, your daily goals don't always have to be monumental world changers. Sometimes a successful daily goal is simply trying not to curse someone out that day. Seriously, the point is to keep it simple, but always have a defined target. Now, to achieve those micro and macro goals, it all boils down to a very simple truth. Without commitment, you'll never start. And without consistency, you'll never finish. Achieving success requires relentless discipline. You got to work at it every single day. You can't just go hard on a Tuesday and then take the rest of the week off. Why? Because ease is actually a far greater threat to progress than hardship. Hard work simply works. Section 2. Movement versus progress. The trap of being busy. And this brilliantly illustrates a really common pitfall. There's a fantastic quote to keep in mind here. Don't confuse movement with progress. Denzel Washington shares this wonderful, super grounding anecdote from his mother. She wisely told him that you can run in place all the time and never actually get anywhere. You're sweating, you're tired, your legs are completely burning, but your scenery hasn't changed one bit. Just look at this comparison. Doing a lot more is merely moving and expending energy. It's the illusion of productivity, really. But getting a lot more done, that means making tangible, forward progress, toward those daily, monthly, and yearly goals we just mapped out. You need to clarify this in your mind today. Just because you are doing a lot more on a daily basis absolutely does not mean you are actually getting a lot more done toward your life goals. Section 3. The Ultimate Purpose. Redefining True Wealth. This brings us to the final stage of the framework. I absolutely love this hard-hitting visual metaphor. You will never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. Wow, it is a profound, completely unavoidable truth. I don't care how much money you make, how outwardly successful you become, or how many business goals you absolutely crush, you simply cannot pack up your material wealth and take it with you when you die. In fact, if you really want to prove the point, just look at history. The Egyptians tried it, and they just got robbed. That's all they got. It's a quick, funny little point, but it solidly anchors a really serious truth. Material wealth is an incredibly fleeting measurement of what true success actually is. So, what actually is true success? Well, it's found in this fascinating paradox. The most selfish act in the world is helping someone else. Why selfish? Because the intense joy, the deep gratification, the absolute goodness that comes back to you when you help someone is infinitely better than any piece of jewelry, any luxury car, or any big house. True joy, and therefore true success, is found exclusively in the act of helping others. Now, obviously, we all possess completely different talents. Some of us are meant to be doctors, some lawyers, scientists, educators, nurses, or preachers. The specific path doesn't actually matter. The core principle here is that it's not about how much you have, it is entirely about what you do with what you have to serve others. Let's move to and see how this builds into a lifelong mandate. Each one, teach one. Because when you finally achieve your goals and get what you've worked so incredibly hard for, your job isn't done. The true pinnacle of this whole framework dictates that you absolutely must reach back and pull someone else up with you. Which leaves us with this final, lingering question to reflect on today. What will you do with what you have? Look at your unique talents, your internal itch, and your most ambitious goals. How are you going to use them, not just to fall forward and achieve your own dreams, but to ultimately lift others up? Take a moment to really think about that. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I truly hope this framework helps you find your path to purpose.